Real Estate License Exams for Dummies. Part 3 is All Minds, Owning and Transferring Real Estate. Chapter 7, Understanding Forms of Real Estate Ownership. Review questions and answers. Exam questions on the subject in this chapter are about terminology and knowing the characteristics of the different kinds of ownerships and their main characteristics. Concentrate on keywords and characteristics and you'll do fine. Question number 1. Ownership by one person is called A. Tenancy by entirety, tenancy in severity, tenancy in common, D. Joint tenancy. Correct answer is B. Tenancy in severity. All other answers involve two or more people owning a single property. Question number 2. Joint tenancy requires unity of interest, unity of possession, unity of time, and unity of A. Ownership, B. Deed, C. Finance, D. Title. Correct answer, D. Title. See the joint tenancy section and remember the description of the 4 unities. I made up the other answers. Question number 3. The type of ownership available only to married couples that has the right of survivorship is A. Joint tenancy, B. Tenancy in entirety, C. Tenancy in common, D. Community property. Correct answer, B. Tenancy by the entirety. Joint tenancy and tenancy in common aren't specific to married couples, and community property has no rights of survivorship, leaving tenancy by the entirety as the correct answer. Question number 4. In his will, Roger has his apartment house put in a trust to be managed by Alice on behalf of his son Jim. Which of the following is correct in this case? A. Roger is the trustor and Alice is the trustee. B. Roger is the trustor and Jim is the trustee. C. Alice is the trustor and Jim is the beneficiary. D. Roger is the trustee and Jim is the trustor. Correct answer is A. Roger is the trustor and Alice is the trustee. The person giving the property or creating the trust is the trustor. The person managing the trust is the trustee. The person receiving the benefits of the trust is the beneficiary. Roger is the trustor, Alice is the trustee, and Jim is the beneficiary. Question number 5. In which of the following forms of co-ownership are all owners required to sign a deed of sale? A. Tenancy in common, B. Joint tenancy, C. Tenancy by the entirety, D. Tenancy by the survivorship. Correct answer is C. Tenancy by the entirety. Tenants in common can always individually sell their interests in the property. Joint tenants, even though they receive their interests from the same deed, can break the joint tenancy by selling their individual interests. They are allowed to do this without the permission of other joint tenants. Tenancy by the entirety is for married couples only and requires both parties to sign a deed of sale. I made up answer D. Question number 6. In what form of ownership does the owner get shares in a corporation rather than a deed? A. Condominium, B. Planned unit development, C. Townhouse, D. Cooperative. Correct answer is D. Cooperative. Condominiums, planned units, developments, and townhouses are all real estate ownership interests. No shares are involved since the owner gets a deed. A cooperative is the ownership of shares in a corporation. Though not one of the choices, remember that a proprietary lease permits a cooperative shareholder to occupy her unit. Question number 7. Liability is limited to the investment in what type of business ownership of real estate? A. General partnership. B. Syndicate. C. Joint venture. D. Limited partnership. Correct answer is D. Limited partnership. In a general partnership, all partners are liable for their actions without limit. Remember that syndicate and joint ventures aren't really forms of ownership, but rather general descriptions of two or more people or companies cooperating to do one or more projects. The limited partnership is the only one of the 4 answers that limit the liability of the limited partner to their investment. Question number 8. In what form of co-ownership does a deceased owner shares go to their heirs? A. Tenancy in common. B. Joint tenancy. C. Tenancy by the entirety. D. Tenancy absolute. Correct answer A. Tenancy in common. The tenancy in common, you can leave your real estate interest to your heirs. In joint tenancy, the property may not be willed to anyone outside the joint tenancy. When one of the joint tenants dies, the shares goes to the remaining joint tenants. Remember that this is called the right of survivorship and may vary in some states. In tenancy by the entirety, which is a form of ownership for married couples only, the shares of the deceased spouse automatically go to the surviving spouse. It may not be willed to anyone else. I made up tenancy of absolute. Question number 9. You're married and own property with your spouse. When you die, she will keep half of the property and you'll be able to leave your half to your sister. You probably live in what kind of state? A. Community property state. B. Joint tenancy state. C. Tenancy by entirety state. D. Tenancy in common state. Correct answer is A. Community property state. Community property is the only form of ownership specifically for married couples that permit what is described in the question to occur. Joint tenancy isn't specific to married couples. Tenancy by entirety is a form of ownership for married people in which the deceased partner's share in the property automatically goes to the surviving spouse. And although you may be able to create a scenario in which you own property as a tenant in common with your wife that allows you to leave half to your sister, this is one of those questions where the word probably should lead you to a better answer, which in community property states is demonstrated the importance of carefully reading every word in the question. Question number 10. A corporation owns property in what form? Tenancy in A. Tenancy in severity. B. Tenancy in common. C. Joint tenancy. D. Tenancy by the entirety. Correct answer A. Tenancy in severity. Remember, a corporation is considered an individual person for legal purposes. The other answers involve multiple owners, and because a corporation is considered a single individual, tenancy and severity is the only answer that works. Thank you very much. That was part 3. It's all mine, owning and transferring real estate. Chapter 8, Chapter 7, understanding forms of real estate ownership. Question and answers. Thank you.